take about 30 minutes here. I'm going to talk for a good 20-25, show you the main feature of Varsity Learning, that is online homework, and how online homework is a great tool for your math classroom, really anytime, but particularly now when you're using an LMS or not and want students to work. Okay, so if you don't have an account at Varsity Learning, let's see, varsitylearning.com, you can request an instructor sign-up account. If you have an account already, you can feel free to log in. You can follow along or enroll in the course we're going to create if you do. It's certainly not required. Any questions you have, best to ask them in the chat within the GoToMeeting, and we'll get to those kind of as they're pertinent. Okay, so Varsity Learning is an online learning platform primarily for online homework, but it has a number of other features as well. And today we're going to be discussing the online homework features in maybe a little more detail than we have in the past. Okay, so first, whenever you are an instructor and request an account, we give you an account and you can create your own courses. It's a pretty simple process. And then we also enroll you as a student in our Varsity Learning support course. So in the support course, this is where we post our how-to guides, our help guides. You'll be able to see those here. We also have some forums. It's going to be our main way to ask and get questions answered. And then we also have a number of worksheets available for you. So the worksheets are both Word format and PDF if you just want to download them. The Word format versions are obviously editable and customizable by you. They have answers as well, so that's nice. So that's the Varsity Learning Support course. So the main Varsity Learning course, you're going to get your course, and it's going to look like this. You're not teaching any courses to start, so we're going to add a new course. So I'm just going to come over, click that button, and I want to copy from a colleague or template course. So you're going to copy from a colleague's course if your colleague has used Varsity Learning before and they've done all the work of setting up the course, and you could just make a copy of that. If you're that person, then you want to start with one of our templates, and then your colleagues would create a copy of your course once you have it set up. So I'm going to look at our template courses today. The template courses we want to talk about are the OpenStax courses today. Why the OpenStax? Well, real quickly, you may have heard me say this, but when we launched Varsity Learning a few years ago, we had some what we call generic high school math templates. These are meant to go with any textbook. They're not going to coincide exactly with that table of contents, but there's enough content within our traditional templates where you can mix and match from one template and create your own courses. And that's great, and it also assumes you have your own textbook. So this year we became partners with OpenStax. So if for those of you not familiar with them, we did a webinar about OpenStax last month. But they're a nonprofit out of Rice University, and they publish open source textbooks for all the high enrollment college courses. So we have support for their math books, pre-algebra through calculus, including statistics, within Varsity Learning. So along with these books, the Varsity Learning templates also include video lessons and, of course, our online homework questions and assignments. So Varsity Learning with OpenStax is a great full-featured platform, including textbook for your math class. So let's take a look. So let's start with the OpenStax elementary algebra book template. So now once you choose a template, you're not tied to it. You can always bring in content from any other template. So if you choose OpenStax, you can still bring in content from the geometry template or from the trigonometry template, whatever you need to. So we're just going to start with the elementary algebra template. I'm going to click continue. I'm going to use the new assessment engine. So those of you who have used Varsity Learning in the past, you're going to want to upgrade this. This is going to give a number of new features, including show your work. It's also going to allow for answer entry so the students see the fractions and math as they enter it, and it's going to give you a number of better options for online tests and quizzes. Okay, so I'm going to not have an enrollment key. I'm going to use the upgraded template. If you like the old templates and like the old features, you're welcome to stick with those. You don't have to check this box if you know it, if you're a continuing user. Okay, so I have a new class. The enrollment, the course ID is 6599. So that is the number that you would give your students at the start of the semester. In this case, you're welcome to enroll in this class, 6599. Okay, so it starts out with a calendar. Here's the Varsity Learning welcome to the OpenStax ISBN if you wanted to order that. I'm going to delete this. Okay, there's an ebook. So this ebook is going to link directly to the OpenStax Elementary Algebra book. It's the XYZ Homework version. So XYZ Homework is our parent company. They're not free, they're paid, and their XYZ Homework is used at a number of colleges and universities. And so Varsity Learning is possible because of XYZ Homework, producing all this content and making it free for high schools and middle schools. So this is the, oh, got one of our competitors there. This is the OpenStax textbook for elementary algebra. So very similar to a Algebra 1 course in high school. This textbook is in PDF format. It's open source, so not only is printing allowed, it's part of the license agreement. And so these books are free because they're open source. You can get them here on Varsity Learning, you can get them on XYZ Homework, or you can get them on OpenStax.org, I believe is their website. So a full-feature textbook, you're welcome to mix and match. We're not starting any custom projects with the OpenStax books until next summer. We're just trying to get everybody up and using these to see how they work as they are. So no customization. With our help, you're welcome to customize them however you want. Let's see. So here is our list of assignments. So I don't know if you noticed this, but each of these are blocks, and a block is just a way to organize information in Varsity Learning. And we have each block coinciding with a chapter. So we have links to the chapter ebook, so you don't have to open the full ebook on the front. You can open just chapter 2. And then we have all of our assignments here. And these also coincide with the sections in chapter 2. We have a chapter 2 review and a forum. I'll go over the forum briefly, but the main part of the webinar today is the assignments, the online homework assignments. First thing I'm going to do is quickly change the dates. So I know this is a template course, so my dates aren't set. So I'm going to go to Mass Change Dates. This is just a big screen that lets me change all the dates in the course at once. This is great if you need to change all the dates for your current class, or if you're copying from last year's class and you just want to move all the 2019 dates to 2020. You can do that really quickly. So let's have some of these assignments. Oh, let's say this was opened July 6th, and we don't need this due till August 7th. Now the action, you can copy these dates down. So I checked all the boxes. So copy down is going to change the dates of any assignment where I have the box checked. Send down is going to change all the dates by the same number of days. I don't know if you can see this, but all these chapter 1 assignments were due March 20th. All the chapter 2 assignments were due a week after that. So I want to send down. So send down is going to change everything by the same number of days, meaning it'll keep each chapter due a week apart. So I'm going to send down date and time changes. And by the way, that send down here, this first option, is what you would use if you're copying your 2019 course and you're going to teach it in 2020. So check the box, change the dates, save the changes. Okay, so I see on the calendar now, we have assignments that are here. When your students sign up, you would give them that course ID. From the roster, we have one person enrolled, Kendra. She's Varsity Learning Kendra. And you'll see a list of your students here. You'd be able to click the little gear icon. You could change their, if they misspelled their name or if they forgot their login or their password, you're able to change it, all that stuff here. And so you'll see a list of students, and you want to handle the passwords for your students. Your students will create their own password, but if they forget it, we want you handling any password issues with your students, and you do that from the roster. Okay. To get back to the course page, I'm just going to click course page. So this is the OpenStax Elementary Algebra, Chapter 2. So when students go in here, they simply click on the assignment name. It tells them this is going to coincide with solving equations using the subtraction and addition properties of equality. Go ahead and start. So some of these questions are just yes, no. They submit the question. So we can try a similar question and that students can move on to another one. You can see this first one had a detailed solution and a written example. So this is a big difference between the OpenStax templates and the traditional templates. We've gone to a lot of work to make sure there's video lessons with most of these OpenStax questions. So a video lesson, most of these are linked to the great videos from James Souza at Phoenix College. He's graciously made his site open source as well. And so these are going to link to his videos here. They also have the written example link. So this is going to show an example of a similar question, not the exact question. So written example is a similar problem that students can see before they solve the given question, whereas the detailed solution is available since we already answered this, and they can see the exact solution for this question. Now, the heart of Varsity Learning are these the algorithmic engine here. So even though one student may have received this question, each student in your class should receive a different version of the question. So it's really going to cut down on students telling each other the answer, and students are going to instead, they're going to discuss the steps instead of the answers, which is really what we want, right? This time on task thing that is so elusive. By giving algorithmic problems and doing it automatically through a system like Varsity, students they still want to discuss the math, but now they're going to discuss the solutions and the steps involved. Okay, next question. Here's another one. So question like this, an integer answer, submit it. Next question. Okay, so if those of you who haven't seen the new assessment engine, we call it, you can see that now when my cursor's in the answer box, there's fractions already here for me. So I can use this fraction, and now I type my answer as a fraction. And so the students are going to type their answers directly with the math that's needed. This is also mobile compliant, meaning if they were on an iPad or tablet, these arrows here, a lot of tablets don't have the arrows on the keyboard, so they're built into the answer entry here. So it makes it much easier for, it's much more mobile friendly, I should say. Okay, so you see we're getting these correct. Again, this has a written example. The written example is going to be a different question. You can see it's different here. The detailed solution is going to be the same problem. And again, there's a new video from James Souza linked as well. Okay. So let's see, we have 3 out of 17, so that means there's going to be 17 questions in here. Your students can work these questions in any order. That's one of the So some of these questions have two parts, as you can see. To get back to the main course page, you just click course, where I can say I'm done. Say these ones are unattempted. Now students are going to be able to, until the due date, students would be able to log back in, and the system's already generated these 17 problems. So you'll be able to go into the gradebook and see the student progress. Students will be able to log back in anytime before the due date and do more of these problems as well. Okay. So let's talk about settings a little bit. I think if we went in here, teacher preview, resume. Let's go to the next question. Next question. Let's get a question wrong, see what happens. Next question. So we have these set somehow for just one attempt. No, it says 2 tries remaining on this question. So I'm going to get it wrong again. And wrong again. So 3rd wrong attempt. Now I can show the detailed solution so the students can see what they did wrong as well as the answer. Okay, so that is the default for these templates is students get 3 attempts on each question. After the 3rd attempt, they'll be shown the correct answer in a student and the solution, and then they'll be able to try another similar question. So this is also taking advantage of the algorithmic engine, and then the number of attempts resets at 3. So the idea with our Varsity Learning templates is that students will do really well on homework. There's no penalty for missed answers, for getting them wrong. There's no penalty for having to do this 10 different times. That's how the defaults are set up. Now you have all the ability in the world to change that. So if I go to settings here, I'm going to show you what that looks like. So settings, so if you don't like the titles of these questions, once you copy this template into your account, this is yours to do with as you please. So you can change the titles here. We do keep the assessment names short because when you look at them in the gradebook, it's nice and neat that they're all have really short names that don't have any phrases in there, just the numbers. That makes it easy. Looks like we have some people working these, so you can see 1.1 is in progress. As the teacher, we can log in, we can see the student's name, we can see how they did on these, we can see how long it took them on each part. So we get a lot of information in the gradebook about how the students are doing. All right, so back to settings. So I was saying all this is completely editable by you. So the summary here, this shows on the course page. The intro instructions, these don't show until a student clicks on the assignment. So most of the Varsity Learning intro instructions are just left blank. Okay, so this is where you can set a date if you want to set an individual date for this assignment. And then here are the core options. So these changed a little bit with the new system, and it really gives you a lot more, many more options, and it really separates homework assignments from quiz or test assignments. So this is a homework assignment. So the number of versions for each question is going to default to 100. If you want every student getting the same version, you can put this at 1. But sometimes there's not 100, so the system will just make do. If you wanted to give students a penalty here, you could. And this is where the number of tries, remember we have 3 tries for each version, and then the student is shown the correct answer. So during assessment, show answers after the last try. So the word try is this word try, and these two things work together. Students are shown their score immediately. So if they attempt a question, they know right away if they get it correct or not. That's what this setting is. View their work in the gradebook. Yep, right here. Score in the gradebook. correct answers. If you only want them to see the correct answers, you can do that after the due date or never. And we have this homework category, so you can separate your assignments however you want in the gradebook. Additional display options, we now have this new calendar icon. We can just have it click to the assessment name. It's a big deal for us. The other new option is the show work option. So you can have them show work during assessment. Make it hard to print. Same, nope, default scores. Time limit, late passes. So you can set a time limit if you're on a Zoom session and you want students to work on something for 10 minutes. You can set a time here. You can set a password, so you can have a test ready during Zoom and you don't give them the password until they're logged in, and give it orally to them. Here, help and hints. So these are the help and video button we were looking at previously. You can turn these off if the assignment was a test or a quiz here. So a lot of options. You don't have to count anything in the gradebook you don't want to. That gives you the option here. Save changes. So what we really want to get across is there's just a ton of options with these assignments, and you're not going to learn it all in a 30-minute webinar, although we're happy to answer any questions. And now with so much being taught online, being able to create quizzes where you control the number of attempts, not just for each question, but you can control the number of attempts they get on that quiz, is going to be really helpful, obviously, in these math courses. So that's a really quick overview of the Varsity Learning assessment engine. I hope I gave you a lot to think about. Happy to answer any questions that are in the chat. Oh, questions about the other courses? Let's see. So if we are, let's see what we have here. So to add all of the courses, you'll click Add a New Course, Copy from Colleagues or Template. You can choose Template Courses. And we have the OpenStax Statistics here. We have the OpenStax Calculus here. So all of the template courses are now available. Yep, so there is a trigonometry course that's not OpenStax. It's more of a full semester of trigonometry, where OpenStax, the algebra and trig book, I think there's just 3 or 4 chapters of trig there. The trig template, the trigonometry template, our traditional template, is probably a better starting place if you're teaching a full semester of trig. And then the pre-calculus, so the OpenStax algebra and trig is really their pre-calculus book. This is just a little bit longer. It has 2 review chapters at the start. Otherwise, it's the same as their pre-calculus table of contents. It's just a little more content here to better fit a full year of high school. Yeah, so the show work feature, good question. So I think I turned it on in 2.2. So I turned on in the settings that we were looking at section 2.2, and now just enter their answer as they normally would, and now they can add their work. So they can add their work. It gives us the answer entry box, so they can type in their work here if they wanted, using some the math Jax entry, the math quill entry. I'm drawing a blank. We also have the ability to add a graph right in the show work feature here. So if some of you are probably familiar with this editor here, and so we've added it so it goes below every question here. So they could do it like this, or they could do something by hand, take a picture of it with their phone, and then navigate with their phone to Varsity here, and then upload that image here. Or that likewise they can upload a file. So if they wanted it if that file was a JPEG or an image file or a PDF, you maybe want to upload the file. If they took a picture of it with their phone, upload the phone here, submit it, and now from the gradebook as the instructor, you'd be able to go in. I did that as a teacher, so it's not going to show. So if somebody did something from 2.2 and uploaded it, as you're looking through all the 2.2 scores, you'll be able to see all the work, and it's going to be organized by question, if that makes sense. So good question. So a question about My Open Math and Varsity Learning. So My Open Math and Varsity Learning are based on the same engine. So My Open Math is an open source platform used at a number of colleges and universities, and they have a number of users. Varsity Learning, we want to be the high school, middle school version of My Open Math. So take that as you will. We have coded questions specifically for the OpenStax textbooks. So if you're a My Open Math user, some of those questions are created for any number of textbooks with different rounding instructions, different terminology. So the questions in the OpenStax templates on Varsity Learning are specific to those textbooks. So if you're looking at 2.1, for example, and you go into questions, you can see that these questions are directly from the OpenStax Elementary Algebra book, section 2.1, like questions 1 through 4. This is like 5 and 6. So we have questions coded specifically for the OpenStax books, which means there's going to be a lot more consistency to them. Since these templates are already ready to go, Varsity Learning is going to be much quicker for the first-time user to get going and get started. Now, if you're someone who has a master's degree in math and a minor in computer programming and you want to program your own questions, then My Open Math is a great solution for that high-end support. We're going to be a little bit low support, not lower level, but support that is for most high school and middle school teachers. So right now, I think it's better to use the OpenStax templates. It's going to depend on what textbook you're using. Certainly, if you're coming in fresh and there's not a set textbook, you're going to want to start with the OpenStax books because then all your students would have access to those. The tables of contents for the OpenStax versus the traditional templates are quite a bit different. So you're going to have to you're certainly going to want to spend some time researching the different templates that we have and see which one's going to be a best fit for you. And the idea is you're not going to use any one template 100%. You might want to take 80% of the elementary algebra template and bring in 10% of the pre-algebra template and bring in questions from intermediate and even pre-calculus. So these templates are meant to be a starting place, not a finishing place for you to create your courses. Yeah, so Varsity Learning is free this year. We intend it to be free as long as it can be. There's not going to be any big charges. It would be a minimal charge if we started to charge in a year or two. We like to say about the equivalent of a case of paper per course. Any other questions? Did I get everybody? Yeah, so I encourage you to take a look. If you're going to use Varsity, we encourage you to get with your department. Creating these courses can take a lot of work and a lot of time, and doing it with a colleague is going to be very helpful. We are scheduling webinars for individual schools on request. If you think your department is interested in using Varsity and want some more information and some details about setting up your course, please email us, support@varsitylearning.com. We'll get back to you with some times that work. Those can be a little bit more in depth and obviously are going to be specific to your department. Okay, any other questions? Great. Well, thanks everybody. Look forward to hearing from you.